Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, we've heard the devastating news for Luton, 1,100 Vauxhall jobs gone, evaporated, simply because of this government's mad obsession with carbon neutral, net zero, and all this bollockry that's going on. Not just this government, previous government as well. But when Keir Starmer and his madmen say that instead of going to 2035 before ending proper car making, they're going to bring it forward to 2030. Of course, the destruction of the car building industry in this country was always on the cards. It's too quick and too much. And with the Stellantis announcement about Luton, it seems that people in government are, strangely and for once, starting to listen. There's good reasons to believe, maybe, that Stellantis was maybe always going to close its factory in Luton at some point in the future, but it was just being brought forward by the net zero, by the rising costs because of the national insurance, and the fact that they're going to bring forward that date for the cars and then £15,000 per car punishment fee if you build a car that isn't electric after that. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now, Jonathan Reynolds, who is Labour's industry spokesman, industry or business secretary, one of the, well, I think he does both roles, he said that he recognises, and this is a big admission from a government, he admits and recognises that government policy may be fueling the problem. And for him to admit that is stunning, because normally these people don't admit they've ever got anything wrong ever. They are, like Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. But as things stand, car makers are struggling. Not just Vauxhall in Luton, but Nissan in Sunderland, you name it, all of them. All of them. Because nobody is buying electric cars. I mean, sure, some people are, and then regretting it. You buy a £50,000 electric car. Oh, that's nice. How much is that worth? 20,000. It's a week old. Yes. Literally money evaporating. We haven't got the infrastructure in place yet. There's not nearly a tenth of the charging points that's needed. Charging times are, variable. There was a guy, I can't remember his name. It was one of the newspapers. They said they did a full investigation into this. And they said driving from, and I think it was something like Bristol to Birmingham, and they had an electric car and a normal petrol engine car. And they said, right, ignoring the relevant costs of purchasing the vehicles, just the running cost. And they started each in Bristol. And he said, right, you fill your car, I'll fill my electric vehicle. And they did this, and they didn't do it from home. They did it from a charge point. The electric charge point on the street kind of thing. You have to put your credit card in and go. So it was 8 o'clock in the morning and they both left. So this guy had to go there and fill his electric car up with electricity. And the other guy had to drive to the nearest garage and fill his car up with petrol. And this guy put in half a tank, right? Just half a tank of petrol. And off they went. But at that point, of course, this guy's just gone half a tank of petrol, got in the car and drove off, right? And off he goes to Birmingham. This guy's standing there still for another 40 minutes charging his car. His car got to the 80% charge, which is what it's supposed to be. Out it comes, and off he goes. Oh, well, he thought at least that was cheap. I'll catch him up on the motorway kind of thing. Now, the guy did Bristol to Birmingham in, say, 4.5 hours through the traffic. This guy took 6 hours, an extra hour and a half, because he had to stop and recharge the car. He said in a 40-minute charge actually took him an hour and a half, because when he got to the charging point, there were 4 cars in front of him. But when they looked at the amount of fuel used, the petrol, they said, and it worked out at something like, it cost me £22 in fuel. They did the charge, they did the cost on the charge, and it worked out at £26. So it was actually more expensive to run the electric car than the petrol car. Genius. And this, of course, is why people aren't buying electric cars. The loss of them through the depreciation almost as soon as you buy it. The actual running costs aren't as cheap as people think. The other problem, of course, is the weight of the car, the repair costs of the car, all sorts of things. There's so many problems with them. But the big cost, of course, is going to be infrastructure. They need to build, as I say, at least 10 times as many charging stations, and they've got to upgrade the national grid at the cost of at least £100 billion. But this being the British government, £250 billion. And they'll be putting all this money in at the same time as other people are coming up with better methods of propulsion for cars, which may not even need electrical power stations. So what's the point? Meanwhile, the humble car goes on. Here's the other thing. What are they going to do with the petrol? I keep mentioning it. No one has answered. Because when you crack oil, and believe you me, we're still going to produce exactly the same amount of oil every day. But when you crack the oil to get your heavy stuff at the bottom, this and this and this all the way up, what are you going to do with the petrol, the diesel? You can't let it evaporate. That's even worse for the atmosphere than burning it. You can't burn it because it will explode unless you're going to burn it something in an engine that will do some good, like, I don't know, a car engine. You can't put it in great big storage pools because it'll be an explosive risk. So what are you going to do with the petrol? No one's got any idea. They literally do not know. And of course, this is a major problem. And it could be even worse for the environment than burning it. Well done. These guys are geniuses. Destroy the entire world for an idea that nobody's actually worked out and thought through. Unbelievable, isn't it? But we're still going to burn as much oil. And of course, this is all government policy. Let's close down the oil industry. Are we still going to need oil? Yes. Where are we going to get it from? Halfway around the world. Isn't that worse for the environment? Yes. So why are we closing down the oil industry? So that we can say we don't produce oil. You're still using it, you assholes, you know. They are absolutely blithering idiots. There will be nothing that replaces oil for at least 100 years. At least. Possibly never. Because the world is oil. I'm sitting in clothes made of oil, on a chair made of oil, with a phone made of oil. You know, wearing glasses made of oil. What are they going to replace it with? It's a joke. And so you get these arseholes sitting there going, oh, we've got to do this, we've got to close down this. And of course, all the car companies are going. Toyota, Nissan, Ford, VW, Jaguar, Land Rover. Jaguar are finished, but for completely different reasons. Jaguar are done, aren't they? That's it. They may as well just give them their cards tomorrow night or whenever and say, go home, don't come back, because Jaguar, tell you what, we've got one guy at the top, he thinks DEI is great, paint everything pink and fuck the company. And he has. But of course, it's all JLRs, Jaguar Land Rover. So Jaguar go, Land Rover will go as well. Then what's the British Army going to do? I'll tell you what you do. You do what every other army in the world does. Every time you see them in the third world, Land Cruisers. There you go. Toyota Land Cruisers. Convert them. They're the best things on the road. Anyway, leave that there. Motor manufacturers screwed. Oil industry screwed. Everyone's screwed. Everyone out of a job. Nobody's warm. Everyone's poor. Well done, Labour. Thanks very much. Bye.